Hey guys, thanks for stopping by for another episode. In today's video, we'll be covering latest updates with macro news as well as covering ETH and BMNR, what the upside is. Now, if you're new to this channel and if you're an existing member, I would really appreciate you hitting the like, subscribing for more related content. Let's get started, guys. So we just got news that 94% chance that the Federal Reserve cuts interest rate by 25% next week. What does that mean? We've had continuous rate cuts in the year 2025 along with quantitative easing, beginning, quantitative tightening just had stopped. So this is all signs for bullish market sentiment. We had market uncertainty going on, throughout October, November. That really caused crypto stocks to go down. But when you think about it, just overall stock market November, it actually closed in the green. Crypto is lagging behind, but just with today's overall performance, we see continuous upside. So the Fed is hinting at the beginning of QE. Powell actually says quantitative tightening ends on December 1st and liquidity conditions will improve soon. Quantitative easing, for those of you who don't know what that means, the money printer is going to turn on, and that's going to be very bullish for crypto. In fact, Trump has already selected a candidate to replace Jerome Powell, and he is a pro crypto person. That just means, market certainty around the crypto environment. Tomlee posts November was a choppy month and down -6% at one point, but S&P 500 managed to gain 0.20%, a sign of strength. We see multiple tailwinds into year end, including end of Fed's quantitative tightening and December Fed cut. What does this mean? This is all, pointing towards, dovish tail signs of crypto and stocks to start roaring. Donald Dean, he posted his targets for Ethereum, and what are we seeing? We'll look at the visual here, an inverse head and shoulder. He's forecasting price targets of 4,100, 5,700, with potential big moves coming with inverse head and shoulders forming. We also see a hammer candle that's showing, when we see a head and shoulder in reverse of this, when you actually see a head at the very top with two, left and right shoulders, that's a bearish signal. But when you see an inverse head and shoulder, where you got the midpoint with the price going that low, that's signs of a nice reversal. We have, Fibonacci retracement, hitting, at the point 0.5 at one point, and now it's bouncing off these levels very well. I think, it's just going to be the next leg up from here. Don poses, ETH, beautiful mate. What is this showing? I mean, when you look at just technical analysis, this is a bullish pennant flag. What are we seeing? Nice breakout from that, lower lows, lower highs. This is a signal that we're breaking out from this bearish pattern that we've seen over the last several weeks. Let's cover technical analysis. I want to share with you. We're looking at Ethereum. I have a couple of technical indicators to show. So we got the band. Anytime when we see the band in green, that's a bullish sign. And I got the momentum candle indicator turned on. So this is looking at the hourly candles. So anytime when we see green band, that's good. We also got the momentum candle indicator turned on, which is a good sign. That usually follows with, purple candles. Um, what we saw, back in September, during the weekend, we had a big, sell off of crypto. That just has a yellow teal candle that flipped the switch, made that, reversal on the band. And we just saw, that momentum candle turn on Tuesday, and things just started roaring back. Now, let's just, turn these signals off and let's look at, overall, alpha trend. We're seeing buy signals right now. That's definitely a key indicator. You also couple that with, the weighted bands. We broke out of that, that bearish purple, channel, and now we're seeing it break out of this, which is definitely a good sign that we want to see, especially with the alpha trends indicator and, the volume weighted bands. Let's turn on the Ichimoku cloud. One of the key things we want to see is, price to hover above the Ichimoku cloud. This is sunshine and rainbows right now. when price is below Ichimoku cloud, it's going to pull that price down. Let's change this to the daily candles. One of the things when you look at it on the daily chart is at one point, October 7th, we were hovering at 4,700 price action right now, getting closer, and it's drawing closer towards that cloud. That's a good thing. We want to get, towards that 3,500. So we're like 300 points away, getting towards that, baseline, getting back towards that cloud range. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I definitely do see that we're going to start seeing a bullish movement to the upside. Once we break through this Ichimoku cloud, we get above, let's say we hover above 3,900, things are going to be looking very bullish. What does that mean? BMNR, Bitmine stock has potential for major upswings. We've seen significant volatility. Let's switch over to Bitmine Emerging Technologies. Current price right now, $33. It recently was not too long ago, hovering close to $70 and just had a major pullback. What had happened back in November 17th, not too long ago, several weeks ago, oversold signals. RSI actually got to 15. Price even got below $24. If you were able to buy at that price, good job on that. Buy when there's blood on the streets. What are we seeing on the charts now? We're seeing, MACD, we're seeing green histograms. We change it on the daily pattern. What are we seeing? We see the MACD flipping the switch there. So we're seeing, more green vertical candles. Smart money's beginning to pick up on this. And let's look at the bullish confluence indicator. We got that red signal there. I mean, we had, major market capitulation, oversold signals. We see the reversal on the MACD. Now that's followed by momentum candle indicator, which is definitely a good sign we want to see. If I just turn off this, we look at Ichimoku cloud alone, where are we right now? So definitely still below the Ichimoku cloud, but I think it's heading towards the right direction, especially with Ethereum breaking out. I definitely do see the upside. We can break into the $40 range, and then soon enough we'll create a less of a gap, getting back into the 50, 60 range. But if I were to put a price point, if we can get towards, $40, in the next week, breaking through 50 to $70, that can happen imminently. Who knows when that can happen, but even as soon as, end of the year or even early January. So that's my overall perspective. If you enjoyed this content, I would really appreciate you hitting the like, subscribing. Thanks guys for watching. Stay tuned for more updates. Take care.